Alright guys, Linkek here. Just a short, quickie little vid. As you can see, I have taken the catch can off of the JLT oil separator thingamahooter I put on it for the PCV system. And I've been driving it, I don't know, probably a while, a couple months. And you can see there's oil in there. Yes, there is. I want to take it and I'm going to dump it out, a little bit of it out on the paper towel here. I want to get an idea and see what it looks like. But it has, that little guy's caught some oil. I guess that's oil that it didn't end up in the engine, which is a good thing, I suppose, right? So maybe this thing actually is doing its job. But I'm going to take and pour a little of this oil out. Let's see what it looks like. And as you can see, I poured some of this out onto a paper towel here, and I can see, and it's got some, there's condensation in this thing too, if you can see that. You see that there? Got some condensation at the bottom of it, right? The oil hangs on the top. Oil's lighter than water. So yeah, it caught some oil. That was, I'd say that was probably couple thousand miles of driving maybe, but that's oil that didn't end up in the engine. And so I think this darn thing actually does its job. What do you think of that? Interesting, huh? Well, I'm going to clean this thing out and put it back together. So I thought that was fairly interesting to see what kind of stuff goes in there. That was stuff that would have ended up in your engine, and I mean, it probably wouldn't have hurted any, but theoretically it helps carbon up the intake runners and the back of the intake valves and stuff. Not to mention, supposedly it lowers your octane rating a tiny bit. But alright guys, thought you might find that interesting. Just going to head out, take the Marauder for a little ride, but couldn't help but notice that she's looking pretty darn good. I did put a cold air intake on it. I've got a bigger throttle body. The ones that are in there are 57 millimeter, and I've got a 62 millimeter. I'm curious, maybe I drove it a little bit with the cold air, and it made it louder, and it seems like it makes a little more power. But I'm going to try that 62 millimeter throttle body I got, and we'll see if that we'll see how that pans out. But I'm going to take her and start her up here, warm it up, take it for a little drive, get it all up and running. All right, so I'm going to do a cold start on this to kind of give you an idea how this thing does. If I don't know if some of you may be aware of this or not, but the original factory oil pressure gauge is simply an idiot light hooked up to a gauge. And so if you got oil pressure, it always reads 70 pounds, doesn't matter. But that dog doesn't hunt. So what I've done is I have gone and I've put an auto meter, basically a matching gauge that is a live gauge. And so I just wanted to give it a start up here, and so you guys can see what it looks like for a cold start on oil pressure. And that oil pressure goes right up. I have put a mechanical gauge on this to compare it to the active gauge I put in it, and they're correct. That gauge that I've got in it now is accurate. All right, let's roll. All right, we're out. And like I said, I just want to take it for a little drive, get it warmed up, so the computer and everything can get up to speed, get warmed up, because I don't know how it's exactly going to change the parameters of everything when I put a little bigger throttle body on it. So I guess we're going to find out, eh? as you can see, I've got the car powered up. It's not running or anything. I got my scan tool on. I'm seeing 18.4% on the throttle position sensor. Like I say, the original one on there showed a 20% reading, so we might do a little bit of adjustment. When I get it on, I'll still have to adjust the throttle blade for the air bypass to work properly and all that stuff. So there's our starting point. So let's see where we go from here. All right, got the cold air right back on it. New throttle body. Let's start it up and see what happens. See if it'll idle. All right, she started. She's pretending to idle, but what I'm looking for here is I'm going to have to disconnect the intake air bypass valve for the idle air. And I want this thing to, with that thing disconnected, I need it to idle about maybe 600 RPM. So let's take that off and see how that goes.